morning, everyone, here at the beautiful Glamco Arena and also the people online. My name is Patricia van der Bouwhede, and I am the project leader of the Urban Action Planning Network ROOF on ending homelessness. Two practical comments. You can have Wi-Fi, it's KAA Ghent, fans, it's free. And then, of course, I would like you to put your phones on mute if you can. And then now, may I please have your attention for the welcome by our Mayor of the City of Ghent, Matthias de Klerk.
It's okay. It was Thursday evening was yesterday evening, yeah? Thank you very much, dear Patricia. The Commissioner Schmidt is on his way. We can agree with that. Dear colleagues from Belgium, dear colleagues from abroad, from Croatia, from Finland, all over our European cities. Dear participants of the Urbact Roof Project and Urbact local groups here and online, also the councillors of the City of Ghent, heartily welcome everyone here, very welcome indeed in our magnificent Glamco Arena from our local football club, and 3 weeks ago we won the Cup of Belgium. So we are very proud on this. We are here not to talk about football, of course. However, there is still an important link to the roof project. Our football club has been committed to homelessness for a while, now with its KA Gent Foundation. That has a homeless team, the Gantoise Plantrekkers. And Ghent has a long tradition to use football and sports as a lever to address society's challenges. And this project is a great example of that. Around noon, we will play a short match with the Gantoise Plantrekkers, and I'm really looking forward to it. My dear colleague, the Vice Mayor of the City of Ghent, Rudy, will be the referee, and he has only red cards. Yes, he is a socialist. And another good older Vice Mayor of the City of Ghent, Tine, will give the opening pass, and I will make the goals. So Ghent is a city who is not afraid, ladies and gentlemen, to call its challenges by their names and to address them. And in that spirit, we took our responsibility as a city right from the beginning also of the Ukraine conflict, took action and created shelters. And we are very also happy to see the responsibility as well of our Ghentians, who showed themselves to be very much in solidarity. And through ROOF, we want to take our responsibility as well and play a pioneering role. Homelessness is an issue many European cities are fighting. It's a complex problem for which there simply are no ready-made solutions. Despite this, we feel we still should do whatever we can do to end it, to stop it. And so it is heartwarming to me that you, European, national and local politicians and the ROOF partners come to Ghent, to our proud city, to discuss this topic together, exchange ideas and inspire each other. A few years ago, our city applied to Urbact to become lead partner of the ROOF project on ending homelessness through housing and through data collection. After all, Ghent has been facing a lot of challenges, big challenges on housing. As a city, we are not alone. Everywhere in Europe, you hear the same story. And then you have two choices: look away or deal with it. And when we are all facing the same situation, we better join the forces to solve the issue across our borders. And the need to deal with this from a European perspective became even more clear the past 3 years with the pandemic and now with the terrifying Ukraine crisis. We all experience the same consequences of these crises, and as always, the most vulnerable people are the victims at first, the first victims. The ROOF network is convinced Europe, the member states and the cities can end homelessness together. An important and proven solution is housing first, in particular, and housing with tailored support in general. But even through a lot of research confirms this, not everyone is convinced yet. Which is why ROOF has set itself to task to push the mindsets of the different political levels, services, and people involved in the right direction. And that is what today's Rooftop EU 2022 is all about. How can we all join forces and work together to really end homelessness in the decades to come? And I'm proud to say Ghent has put its word into action and is the first Belgian city to approve an action plan to end homelessness via prevention, via housing. For us, realistic by 2040. And this morning, we have a unique opportunity to discuss what Europe can do help European cities long-term to actually reach this goal. And I am convinced we can succeed by combining our forces, work together, and make this happen. So together, we can end homelessness. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I have one practical issue. If someone from the team could call the Greek colleagues because they are not finding the entrance. So if you could call marriage, please. Thank you. Okay, Liat is on it. So, also from my part, a very warm welcome to you all. The Urbact Roof project started in 2019 in unsuspected pre-COVID times. We formed a network with 9 partners from all over Europe: Braga, Ghent, Glasgow, Liège, Odense, Poznan, Thessaloniki, Timișoara, and Toulouse Metropole. We specifically chose to work with middle-sized cities because Fianza advised us their ending homelessness was feasible. All cities that genuinely believe they can end homelessness, and all cities that want to explore or upscale housing first, housing led, and look into better data collection. The network was a true privilege to work with. All so very committed people, even when they were extra busy with the COVID crisis and with Ukraine. We exchanged knowledge, mainly online, and integrated that knowledge into our local action plans with the guidance of our fabulous lead expert, Liat Rugel, who you will see a lot in the minutes to come. You will all find all about Roof in the lovely little tote bag that you got. As we felt we needed everyone on board to make the shift towards sustainable housing and housing first, we embarked upon our advocacy trajectory. With the guidance of our advocacy expert, the Glasgow Centre for Civic Innovation, and the design team, we developed 4 key messages on what we think Europe can do on housing, housing first, data and funding to help us cities end homelessness. Today, we have the great opportunity to discuss these messages with the different policy levels and with you. You will find the key messages in your tote bag as well as an invitation to send postcards to Europe with your support to the message of your choice. The postbox is in this room. We will show you where it is later. Before we start, I give you a quick overview of the morning, the full details of which you can find on our website. First, we get to know Roof and the key messages introduced to you by our Urbact lead expert. After this, the Roof politicians will explain their experiences that led to these key messages with the guidance of Liat and Phil. Then, a panel of politicians and experts discuss what the different levels can commit to. After the break, Roof politicians explain the rest of these messages, and a new panel discusses how to make best use of the existing tools. Our Urbact advocacy expert will conclude, then Ghent Deputy Mayors of Housing and Social Affairs will make the final call upon Europe, followed by the Urbact Head of Unit, who will explain about the role of Urbact. Before we finally head for the football match and lunch, we hand over the key messages to the French presidency, and if we can, also to the future Belgian presidency, and to Commissioner Schmidt. Now, to begin with, I would like to ask your attention for Bram, who has lived experience in homelessness and housing first. Together with our communications officer, Hannelore, he would like to share this with you, to remind us all what this day is really about. Bram and Hannelore, please come to the floor.
Hallo, I am Bram. I'm 36 years old, born and raised in Ghent. And 6 years ago, I landed on the street. And now, since 5 months, I have an apartment via the organization. With a lot of mixed feelings, of course, because now, at the moment that I was kicked out, there was a lot of stress of bills. I was burned out of my job, and I couldn't even handle to take care of anything. So I was suspended from everything. I didn't get money, but the bills keep coming and piling up. And so it escalated. That's the short story about how I ended up on the streets. And now, the first thing what happens if you have an apartment is, they find you again. Everything you were running away from is there, so all the stress comes back, and whoo. But it's good. I've got finally a space to put my stuff freely. Like before, I was squatting somewhere. Stuff disappears. Everything has its own life. So, it's with mixed feelings. And as well, ending homelessness, you see all those buildings empty everywhere. The prices in the private market are escalating. Social housing is like the only survival of most people, even working people. That's not right. Everybody needs a house that they can afford and a future. And it's all, Melissa, my work coach, Melissa Big Bob. I want to thank her. I will point my finger a lot at her, and I will, it's all her fault. Everything is her fault, and that's her job. But she knows I'm kidding. And I have now, a lot of faith that I will make it, because it learned me a lot, especially the first 3 years, because I learned to survive without money. And that's something magical, and learned me from how fucked up it is, what it does to people, their minds, because the money is so important that all the misery comes forth of it. And now I need to work on my future and a direction that I want to go in, because now I have an apartment, they give me money, to search for work. But what work to do? What work to do? Every job, I don't see the point anymore. The planet is fucked, all those misery. It's too far. Sorry. I'm getting distracted off the subject. Excuse me, this is not the point.
Ladies and gentlemen, it was a big thing for Bram to come here and to tell his story. And it's very short. We had to keep it short, but I have a lot of respect for him that he's here and he does this. And
thank you.
We wish you all the best for the future, Bram. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you so much, Bram. It was very interesting to hear your words, because I think if we've learned something is that homelessness is a very complex issue. And to hear first-hand experiences is always very important. And I think we shouldn't forget it. So thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. I'm Leah Togel, and with me is Phil Brown, and we're going to take you through this morning, which is going to be intense and full of interesting insights. And we're going to do it in 2 sessions. So first, we're going to hear some experiences from the roof cities, then a panel of discussion, then a short break, and then again. So we will try to get you through this information all together, but we also want your involvement, and we want to have your questions or comments. And we decided to do it with a digital tool because it would be very complicated to collect them by voice. And we're going to use Slido. I don't know if you know the tool, but if you don't, you can just use your phone. You can either scan the QR code that you see, or you just go in your browser and you write www.sly.do, and then you need a code, and the code is very easily ROOFTOP EU. And if you enter to Slido, you can see that there is a possibility to ask some questions. And if you want to try it out right now and just say hello or say where you're from, then I can see that we are all in the Slido. And this is the way you can interact with our speakers, okay? So every time you have a comment or a question, do that. I will keep my eye on that, and I will bring the questions back to the speakers. What? The people online can do that as well, absolutely. And we also have a hashtag for Twitter, if you're going to tweet, and this is hashtag RooftopEU22. So please use this hashtag if you're tweeting. All good? Okay. So to introduce this morning and to introduce the 4 key messages that Roof is sending to Europe, and please do fill your postcards and we will send them, so find them in your tote bag. We will start with a short video about Roof.
Roof. 9 cities, 1 objective, ending homelessness. Homelessness is the most extreme form of poverty. In Europe, an estimated 700,000 people and counting don't have a roof, a house, a home. A nightmare for a person to live it, a disgrace for a society to allow it. Yet society can end homelessness, in the next decades even, through long-term thinking and systemic change, through evolving from sheltering towards housing, through offering stability and support, through cities, countries, and Europe joining forces to make this happen. For 3 years, in the framework of URBACT, 9 European cities have been putting this into practice. As part of the Roof network, they have been exchanging knowledge, testing and planning new ways of working and changing mindsets. For some cities, it meant starting from zero and understanding how to change their local mindset and put the first milestones to introduce housing first. Some cities needed better data to begin with. Other cities needed to figure out how to scale and consolidate the shift from shelter to housing and housing first without losing quality. More houses, more people. Many cities needed to invent new ways to access affordable housing solutions. Support systems were being questioned and reinvented. A couple of advanced cities took the opportunity to work on prevention or long-term quality guarantee. All cities designed a plan to change mindsets on the local and national policy levels. The cities have made real progress. Each city now has a detailed local action plan for the future and a strong local group to support future activities. But it is not enough. The Roof process made it even more clear that it takes a city, a country, and Europe to finally end homelessness. The Roof network created 4 specific messages outlining what Europe can do to help cities towards functional zero. The Roof network asks Europe 4 specific things. Firstly, to produce an ending homelessness strategy by 2024-25 that includes key actions on improving the affordability and the quality of housing solutions. Secondly, to develop a joint monitoring system together with the EU member states, with harmonized indicators and ad hoc service on homelessness to help inform policy decisions in this area. Thirdly, to promote housing-led approaches, particularly housing first, as a key method of tackling homelessness. Finally, to allocate EU structural and investment funds to tackle homelessness by expanding affordable housing stock and providing support to allow people to live and thrive independently. It takes a city, a country, and Europe. It takes a roof, a house, a home. It takes all of us. Together, we can end homelessness. Roof. 9 cities, 1 objective: ending homelessness.
To end homelessness, one of the key things that we've learned is that we need to change the way we think about homelessness. Changing homelessness is a systemic thing, though, that involves many different organisations from different sectors and the engagement, the meaningful engagement of different stakeholders. A city that's already putting that into practice is Glasgow. Here we have a video now that tells us about the Glasgow experience.
Glasgow and Scotland by putting people first.
In 2010, Glasgow implemented Housing First as a new model to combat homelessness in the city. The practice gives people who are experiencing homelessness a roof over their heads whilst providing holistic social support. Housing First is Glasgow's first response for people whose homelessness is made harder through trauma, addiction and mental health challenges. Housing First puts people first.
Housing First is our first response. It is normal, fair, and it works. It creates safer cities, better health, and saves money. Housing First benefits us all.
Glasgow as a city has overwhelming support for the Housing First model. As of the end of April, we have 255 tenancies, of which 232 are occupied. Over the last 3 years, we continue to be committed, and as of the first 12 months of any Housing First, we have 92% retention, and after 2 years, 89% retention. Housing First puts people first.
Everyone has the right to a home. Housing First is a long-term commitment, not a short-term fix. It's our responsibility to provide support workers and housing for our tenants. Housing First puts people first.
Scotland has been on a mission to ensure that people with the hardest experiences of homelessness get housing first and fast. Scaling up Housing First, in line with local need, is now a national policy objective and an important part of national and local plans to end homelessness. Housing First has transformed Glasgow. Housing First puts people first.
So great to hear from Glasgow about how Housing First works. But it's also very obvious that the provision of housing is so important for the success of Housing First. It is the stability and the security of the accommodation combined by the flexibility of the support system that makes Housing First possible. And yet, very often, we do not find the housing sector at the table when we speak about homelessness. And we're very lucky in Roof that most of the city either came with their housing sector to the project or brought their housing sector within the project. And today with us, we're very happy to have the Deputy Mayor of the city of Poznan, Mr. Bartosz Gus, to give us a few words about the challenges and also the strategies to increase affordable housing stock. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. At the beginning of my speech, I would like to underline, on behalf of the city of Poznań, on behalf of the great fifth group of our delegation, that we are very proud, very satisfied that we can participate all together with us in such wonderful event, in such wonderful place as Gent. Wonderful Gent, wonderful Galamco Arena. Continue sports subject. From one hand, I appreciate of Gent achievements on local arena, but from other hand, I would like to inform us that Lech Poznań, that's my local team, after 10 years is going to regain championship in the Polish league, so maybe we can meet together during the European competition. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad that after so many meetings held online, we can see each other in person. Poznań is a modern, open city, taking advantage of opportunities for cooperation in the European arena. In the scope of its housing policy, we focus on the implementation of innovative instruments. Participation in the ROOF project enabled the city of acknowledge good practices and municipal policies in fighting homelessness among socially vulnerable groups. It is a great honor to be one of the cities, of the 9 cities, taking action in such an important area. The city of Poznań effectively manages the municipal housing resources by implementing housing projects and providing housing support and social assistance. In cooperation with NGOs, we conduct a program of training apartments for people requiring special social assistance. The city undertakes many activities supporting people who experience homelessness or have experienced it in the past. First of all, it cooperates with non-governmental organizations that run, among other things, warming centers, mobile medical aid points, and houses for the homeless. The concept of housing first, developed within the framework of the ROOF project, is another tool allowing us to effectively support people who find themselves in the crisis of homelessness. Currently, a major challenge for the city is to provide support for refugees from Ukraine. It is 3 million refugees in the whole Poland, with the most pressing matter being their safety. The current situation requires the city authorities to take unconventional and non-standard actions, implement innovative solutions, and be highly flexible in the new way of managing municipal resources. Experience gained so far on the European arena, owing to all of you, allows us to look in the future with optimism. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak at the closing event. I wish you a successful meeting, and thank you for being here all together with us in such wonderful city as Gent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gus. Providing people who experience homelessness a safe and secure place to live, though, is just the starting point. After this comes the provision of personalised support. And the support system differs markedly from the usual practice in social work and other housing support services due to the need for it to be interdisciplinary, creative and flexible. So now we're going to hear from Odense about how they've approached the housing support system in the context of creating a much broader, inclusive city. So we have a video message from the Deputy Mayor for Employment and Social Affairs of Odense, Christopher Lilleholt.
Speak for you. Unfortunately, I'm not able to attend the meeting in Ghent in person today, but I'm happy to say a few words about our work with Housing First here in Odense. As you can see, I'm standing at one of the sanctuaries that we have placed at 4 different locations in Odense as part of our commitment to be an inclusive city. This one is located right next to my office, which is the building right over here. As some of you have witnessed firsthand earlier this year, when you visited Odense, we are very determined to keep working on and improving our efforts to end homelessness. And it works. In the last 10 years, we have helped 500 homeless people to a new home. And after 3 years, 80% of them are still living in their apartment. The cooperation in ROOF is a great benefit to this work because it allows us to share knowledge and inspiration. The success of Housing First in Odense is based on a strong cooperation with the housing organizations that allow us to find the right housing for our homeless citizens. But as you know, it is not enough just to give the citizens the keys to the apartment. We need to have the right support system so the citizens seizes the opportunity to make a home for himself. In Odense, we work with various support systems as CTI, ICM and ACT. Especially our work with CTI have been drawing on cooperation in ROOF. We highly appreciate the cooperation and we wish you all a very good meeting.
Great hearing from Odense, another city that has a lot of experience in Housing First. And I think we are all convinced that Housing First is an excellent method, but it also requires a systemic change. And to create meaningful change in cities is always a challenge. So what we would like to do now is to welcome some colleagues to discuss how change is possible in cities. And we would like to discuss with them and to explore how, what can be done on a policy level in order to create change. And I would like to welcome program expert Laura Collini to moderate this panel. And I leave the floor to you. Thank you, Laura.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Liat. Thank you, Phil. Okay, so this is the first panel of the day. It's called It Takes a Roof, a House, a Home. And what we want to know is how does it look commitment at all policy level in Europe to end homelessness? And with me, I kindly invite to the stage Madame Tine Hese, Mr. Nicola Schmidt, Mr. Patrick Delvetter, please, have a seat, and Mr. Mikko Altonen. Good morning and thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And these are very distinguished guests that decided to join us. I'm very, very happy from the name of Urbacht Roof to have you here in person. So thank you. Okay, just a very short round of presentation of our speaker. Madame Tine Hese is a deputy mayor of the Environment and Climate and Housing, and she is representing the Green Party in Ghent since 2000. Mr. Nicola Schmidt is serving as the European Commissioner responsible for jobs and social rights since December 2019. He has a long career serving in the public services. He took duty as a permanent representative of Luxembourg to the EU, was appointed a minister delegate for foreign affairs and immigration. And if you look up online, Mr. Nicola Schmidt has responsibilities in developing the action plan to implement the European Pillar of Social Rights and fair minimum wage, and also in many other things that are concerning also homelessness in the wider sense. Thank you very much for being with us. And then we have Professor Patrick de Weltere, if I pronounce well your name, is Professor of International Cooperation at the KU Leuven and is specialized in the European social policies and international development cooperation as a member of the European Platform to Combat Homelessness. And we will discuss about this platform in our round. And Mr. Mikko Aaltonen is a member of the European Committee of the Region, also Councillors of Tampere City Council, and is here with us representing the Committee of the Region, the steering board of the European Platform of Combating Homelessness. Okay. And I would say that this is a very crucial moment for housing policies in Europe. Probably we never had such a crucial moment as before. You have the social pillar of rights. We had in January last year the Access to Decent Affordable Housing for All report from Sparenchak at the European Parliament. We have the platform, obviously discussing about this. We have affordable housing initiatives, the new Recovery and Resilience Fund, which can be used by member states to invest on housing and homelessness. So we want to know in this panel how to make this public commitment of the EU working in practice at all levels. And we have heard the experience of cities. ROOF is all about how cities can actually implement in practice this idea, this goodwill that is shared, I would say, in Europe so strongly as never before. So I would like to start with you, Commissioner Schmidt, opening the panel. Maybe you can say something in your point of view, how the European Commission is supporting the needs of cities.
First, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Madam Deputy Mayor, to be here and to have organized this very important conference in this marvelous city of Ghent, indeed, and which is also a city where social innovation is very firmly, very solidly established. Well, the Commission first, together with the Parliament, and I think the Parliament has played a very important role in that, we decided to take this initiative together with the Portuguese presidency to do something on homelessness, which is not directly exactly a competence of the Commission. Although we have Principle 19, which refers to decent housing, but we considered that maybe it's not a direct competence of the Commission, but it is a European problem. And so we have really to address this problem locally, nationally, but also at the European level. And so we took this initiative together with the Portuguese first through this Lisbon Declaration, and then with the creation of the platform. And the platform finally is the place where all the stakeholders from Europe, civil society, NGOs, local authorities, and national authorities come together and really exchange and see what are the right policies. And certainly on this, we can also develop European policies, European projects, finance. We are working on with the European Investment Bank, with the possibility also to have money, and you have mentioned also other European financial resources which can be made available. And I think a lot has been said on Housing First, and my neighbor here, he knows a lot about that. So I think this is a bit the idea. But certainly Housing First has to be adapted to the different contexts. But it also is very important to have exchanges between the cities, and I'm really very happy to have meetings like this one, where this can take place, this exchange of ideas, and the Commission in a way supports that and helps to organize that. And now we are about now to develop projects and exchange of ideas, helping also cities to eventually to access to financial means, European financial means. So this is the role of the Commission. But now homelessness and housing in general, because homelessness and housing, they are somewhere linked. Homelessness is the extreme form of the problem of housing, and we are facing, you've said it's the right moment, it's probably the moment to discuss this and to develop policies in this field. We are in many countries, in many cities, facing a real housing problem, which is not even a problem of people who have become homeless for different reasons, medical reasons or whatever, but just people who do not find a place to live. And I think housing is a challenge now in our member states, in our cities, and especially you have mentioned the millions of refugees who have come now to Europe. And I greet the mayor of Poznan, and I was in Poland, and I know the enormous efforts which have to be done in Poland to find places for the millions of refugees, the 3 million of refugees who came to Poland. So this has even increased the pressure, and therefore it is extremely important that we are treating this issue also at the European level.
Thank you very much. And if I pick on the example, on the point that you made on the platform, which seems to be the most concrete initiative at the moment in relation to homelessness. Maybe Professor De Betteri, can you tell about what is the platform doing, how does it work, and what is the commitment?
Okay, thank you so much, and thanks also to Ghent and to the mayor and deputy mayor also for inviting us. The platform, in fact, it's a novelty. It's something really new, and as the commissioner has said, it's a multi-stakeholder initiative. You yourself, you talk about it takes a city, it takes a country, it takes Europe. So this is what we have as representatives in the platform, and we also have civil society, and we have different European institutions that all are part of the platform. The platform, as the commissioner has said, has started just 2-3 years ago under the Portuguese presidency as a unique place where we can meet and discuss and develop joint initiatives and joint policies. The whole idea is that we have to tackle this thing together. It's not just up to every city to solve the problem. It's not every NGO that can solve the problem. It's not any single country that can solve the problem. So we all have to work together and to collaborate if we really want to tackle this problem of homelessness. So what we have decided to do is to focus on 3 work streams. Our first work stream is to have mutual learning. In fact, this is what you are doing. You bring together cities who have some kind of experience, and you learn from each other. We want to expand what you are doing all around Europe, so that the cities at your level, I mean, you say you're middle-sized cities, 100,000 inhabitants, but you also want to do it with cities that are bigger. We want to do it also with cities and towns that are smaller, so that they can exchange and learn from each other. But not only cities, it's also up to the social service NGOs that are very much involved and committed to working with the homeless people, so that they also can learn from each other. And cities can learn from the NGOs, and the NGOs can learn from the cities. The same goes for the member states. We have 27 member states that can all learn from each other. In a couple of weeks, and I'm sure the representative of the Commission, Katarina Ivankovic, she will elaborate on that. We will bring together the different member states to learn from each other in how to develop a national strategy to tackle homelessness. So we want all different actors to really tap into the experiences, to tap into the projects that are over there, the initiatives, but also not only the things that work, but also the things that do not work. So it's a learning environment. The second thing we want to do is to help countries and stakeholders to get access to funding. As the Commissioner has said, there are different resources available at the European level, at the national level, at the local level. The problem that many of us face, people involved and institutions involved in tackling homelessness, is that very often we do not know about those possibilities. So we want the cities, we want the countries, we want the different stakeholders, also the NGOs, to know what they can do together with the European Investment Bank, together with the Council of Europe Bank, together with the European Social Fund, etc., so that indeed more resources go into the sector of housing, and housing for the people who are most excluded. And the third work stream then finally is about counting and measurement. We are not just doing an academic exercise. You mentioned the fact that every day there are about 800,000 people who live on the streets in Europe who are sleeping rough. This is most probably a very intelligent guess, but it remains a guess. What we really have to know is at the level of where the action is, and the action is at the local level. We want to know at the level where the action is, who are we talking about? The numbers, but also the living conditions of those people. We are not just interested in counting people, we are interested in the people, what they are going through, and how we can solve the problems that they are facing day by day, together with the different services that we want to give, and including also the housing first. So the third work stream is the one on counting. So it's mutual learning, it is access to finance, and it is the measurement and the monitoring that we want to have as the three work streams for all the stakeholders concerned.
Thank you very much. It was very clear. A very important program, I would say, because it's really hitting the most important aspects. Also, I find it interesting that you said looking at lights and shadows, things that has worked and not worked, and really it takes a lot of listening attitude and understanding what is really happening on the ground. And if we make this passage from the ideal thinking, of making this these three pillars, I would say, of the platform happening, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Altonen to say what is the Committee of the Region doing in relation to these needs and to these proposals.
Thank you. And first of all, thanks for the invitation to this event and for the city for hosting this event, because I always find these kind of events inspiring and encouraging, and I see there's a lot of commitment and ambition to really fight homelessness and find the solutions. And the Committee of Regions, well, as you all know, that the homelessness is always it's a local problem. After all, the homelessness happens somewhere, and therefore the solutions have to be also local and regional. And we need the local and regional knowledge and perspective. And therefore the local and regional authorities are key players. And that's the role of the Committee of the Regions, to help the local and regional authorities to find the right solutions and to upkeep the discussion on the right solutions. Unfortunately, the committee doesn't have the budget to address homelessness directly, but the committee can help the local and regional authorities to gain the knowledge how to find the solutions to fight homelessness, and gain the knowledge where they can find the knowledge to find the right tools and right solutions. And to upkeep the discussion, I don't know how public it is, but in October we are having a week of European cities and regions, and in that event one of the topics will be homelessness.
Great.
And hopefully there we have a lot of good discussion on the solutions and the tools, but also the needs of the local and regional authorities. Mm-hmm. What the local and regional authorities need to end the homelessness in their cities and regions.
Great question. I pass it to the Madame Hazer. Like, what local authorities need? Is this helpful? Is this really supporting the work you're doing locally?
We certainly need support. I immediately start with a challenge. In Ghent, we have 10,000 people waiting on the list for social housing. So it's a huge number. And on our count, shows that there are about 1,000 homeless people with legal residence in Ghent. So the challenge is huge. And I totally agree that it's the local level that knows the problem best, because we are close to the people. So we can make up a good plan, and we did make up a good plan. In Ghent, we recently approved the roof action plan, And in that plan, we expressed the ambition to end homelessness for people with legal residence by 2040. And it will be a huge thing to make that true. And so we really want to go for this shift to housing rather than sheltering. But of course, it's clear, if we want to realize that, we need support. We need support. We need support from Europe, and I'm very glad to hear that homelessness is on the European agenda, because we really need it there. We need resources, for sure, and we also need, of course, support from also the national and regional level, because there, for example, also Belgium and all member states signed the Lisbon Declaration, in which they indicate they want to end homelessness by 2030. But of course, a declaration is one thing, to really do it is another thing. And so we really need a national plan, a policy and a plan in the short term, a plan that really enables us the scaling up of housing first by making funds available for housing, counseling and training. And I really want to stress, and that's also the reason that this action plan is a collaboration between different departments. I'm the Deputy Mayor for Housing. My colleague is responsible for welfare, because we have to work together. This plan is really, and all the issue is really an intersection of welfare, health and housing. So we have to work together. We do that on local level, but we certainly need support from Europe, and we need support from the member states, in our case, Belgium.
Thank you. We hear a lot of this discussion, but also before. It comes back again and again. We need to work together. We need to work at different level. I think everyone that is sitting here is also, we have the same idea, that it's important, it's on the top of the agenda. But, and also we have the declaration where the member states of the Lisbon Declaration, right? So we are on a good start. But I would like to ask the Commissioner's mate, like, what kind of commitment would you need from different policy level? How would you work with other DGs, for instance? How do you work with member states and to the level of, of the city, doing all the scale? What would you need from all different levels?
Yes, we all know that homelessness is a very large and very complex issue. It's not just somebody on the street. There are a lot of reasons why this person is on the street. So there are issues like having no job, having some disease or some issue, mental issues or mental disease or addictions and so on. So this, we are very much aware, and I think this is also the advantage of the platform, to better understand why are people ending in the street. Maybe because they do not find a house, but why have they difficulties to find houses? Because the offer is not sufficient, obviously, but there are also other reasons. And I think we have to now develop these comprehensive global approaches to homelessness. And this involves, obviously, a lot of social services and social policies, which have to be implemented at national level, European level, being supportive. You have mentioned some initiative which can help also to improve the situation, but at the end it always finishes at local level, and local authorities have to deal with the problem. When somebody has no income, when somebody has no place to go, when there are issues of health and so on, at the end all this has to be mitigated at local level. So I think we have to organize this as a comprehensive approach, as a strategic approach, and here also Europe can play an important role, and we are doing it by pushing some important social policies, helping member states to put in place these social policies. For instance, we are now working on an initiative on minimum income, because one of the issues is, well, these persons have very often no income. Some member states have minimum income, some others have not. How is minimum income given? What are the conditions? What is done with? So this, we will come up with a recommendation on a minimum income. And this is something also homelessness people are directly involved in. So I think this is the approach we want to push. Certainly, always, there is not one single solution. We always have to respect a certain degree of, let's call it subsidiarity or specific issues. The city of Ghent is certainly different from other Belgian cities, but certainly different from Lisbon or Tampere. But there is also a lot in common. So I think this is the way how we can push. And we have, you mentioned it, ambitious goals, ambitious objectives. And I must say I am fascinated by what is happening now on this particular issue. The mobilization which is happening in many places, in many cities, also the enthusiasm which we see at the platform and the ideas coming up. And I think this is something which is a very strong signal and also a very good support for action at all levels.
Thank you very much. This enthusiasm, so we have really to hang on this. And the platform is a voluntary action, so we have, this is important to remember. So, but how do we turn this voluntary action really into making sure that member states actually deliver and support housing first, and make available housing stock to use housing first as a model? So, what is your roadmap idea? Like, how do you make this passage through the EPUB platform?
No, thank you for that question. A very important question indeed is how can we motivate everybody, each and everybody, to join forces? Huh? So the great thing that has happened, in fact, is what the Commissioner said, that in Lisbon, under the presidency of Portugal, we got this commitment from all the different stakeholders, the member states, but also the European institutions, the non-governmental organizations. The subsequent presidencies have always also very much supported this whole effort. And we see up till today that every single presidency apparently knows and understands that this is a problem that we have to solve. If we want to have a European project that is attractive for the population, we have to do this kind of thing. And we have to show that indeed we can advance in terms of social rights and social living and the living conditions of people. But in concrete terms, what does it mean? It means that we stimulate people to talk to each other and to learn from each other. Let me give a concrete example. You are trying to move from shelter to housing first. Right? This is a great ambition. But it's not an easy task to do. It's an extremely difficult one to do. So what we would like to have with the platform is that your experience can really be shared by other ones. Because this is also a challenge, not only for the ones that are involved in your program, this is also a challenge for hundreds and hundreds of other cities and towns to realize. So we would really like to mobilize people around these very concrete things. So this is just the example of how to move from shelter to housing first. But there are other challenges as well. How do we try to learn lessons from your experience for small cities and towns? Because you're looking at the 100,000 kind of inhabitants in a town, but you also have towns with 10,000 people who also have homeless people. How have they to deal with it? The other challenge is how do regions get involved? We are a country with a lot of decentralized authorities. So what is the responsibilities of those decentralized authorities here in Italy, in Germany, in other countries where you have this particular role for the decentralized authorities? Then you have the whole question of financing. How will we mobilize local financing, national financing, European financing, philanthropic financing? That is also very often stepping in when we have projects like Housing First. So we really want to exchange and for people to be mobilized around this issue of homelessness through the different activities. Not just a question of having a declaration. I think this is what we need, that kind of thing, like a declaration, and then the presidencies that time and again insist that we do and we need a collective effort. It's also a question together with all the stakeholders to be there continuously and be visible. And this is why I'm so happy with this initiative, because you make this whole thing visible. Not only homelessness as a problem becomes visible, but the fact that you can do something about it and that you do something about it.
Thank you very much. This roof network has been ongoing for 2.5 years, and URBACT has been working on exchange of knowledge and capacity building for more than 15 years, and it was the first time that we had this network. It was great to support it, and so it was really a good experience also for the whole program. And there are other networking organizations that are focusing on this. This is Housing First hubs and so on. But there are also tools to do this kind of exchange and learning and motivating people really to get from ideas into practice. Maybe the Committee of the Region can tell about what the tools they have or they put in place to support this exchange of knowledge that you have. You want to have?
Well, the Committee of Regions is a consultatory body, and it doesn't have a budget to kind of start of its own projects. But as you mentioned, it can give out the information and the knowledge. And one of the things that the Committee of Regions should be doing is promoting the platform, because the platform is the place or the organization where we are collecting the knowledge and the tools, as you mentioned. And the Committee of Regions should make the members of the committee and through that the local and regional authorities aware of the work of the platform and aware of the tools and the best practices to combat the homelessness. And in some cases, the Committee of Regions might also hand out the knowledge on the worst practices, because we shouldn't be repeating the mistakes. And we often, of course, we all like to kind of discuss issues through the success and not the kind of failures, but they might be very important in learning as well. So the committee, it's kind of should keep up the discussion and raise the awareness on the homelessness in general and the solutions.
Okay, thank you. And the last round of talks to Madame Heze. In your point of view, what would be needed to make the voice of cities heard in this panorama at European level?
Well, I'm glad to hear that at least on the vision level, things are shifting and that there's a mind shift on the different levels. This mind shift that housing is really a human right. Good housing is a human right, and it's connected to a lot of things. For example, that's related to affordable housing. But I always ask, I'm Deputy Mayor for Housing, affordable for who? Mm-hmm. And affordable, of course, is linked to income. So I was very pleased to hear that, of course, talking about income, to have an income that each European citizen should have an income that he or she can afford a good house. That's a good start, for example. So we need this shared vision. That's very important. And the shift from shelter to housing first, because it really works, and it really means that housing, that we give houses unconditionally. Yes, people might have problems, problems that they have to work on, but first they need the house, and then we can work together with them on their problems. And this mind shift is very important. Of course, mind shift alone is not enough. We need the means, we need the roadmaps, we need support to really put it in practice.
Thank you. Okay, so the just 1 minute statement that we do usually at the end of panels. You are all, including myself, representing programs, organization, the platform, commission, the city, but you're a person. How would you commit yourself? What would you do in the name of your organization to bring this forward? You have 1 minute, huh?
Okay, it's again up to me.
As you wish. It's open.
Well, first I must say I've become aware of the problem more and more in in the city I'm coming from. Luxembourg City is a smaller city. When suddenly I discovered that there are homeless people everywhere, and that the problem is there. We see it now, and we cannot just ignore it anymore. And I think I am very happy to be part of this initiative and to be part of this new process, which is an important process for our societies. It's not just the homeless people. Certainly, they are in the center. But the homelessness is a side of our society which shows us that something doesn't work. And I think we have really to be motivated to change this, not just for the homeless, but for the whole society as a whole, for every citizen. I think this is something which drives me, and I'm very happy for the support and also on the extreme motivation now which is developing.
Thank you.
Yep. No, okay, go ahead.
Well, I would say we made up a plan in Ghent. And of course, not only me, but we are really committed. That is not a plan that we put somewhere in a drawer, of course. It's a plan, first of all, in Ghent, we have a lot of social organizations that even if we, as deputy mayor, would put it in a drawer, they would say, it doesn't work like that, and I'm glad for it. They should push us. And so there's a lot of commitment to really make this plan reality. At the same time, and as strongly as we fight for this plan, we will fight that other authorities hear us as well, and they work together with us. That is our commitment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for me, it has to do everything with human dignity. Huh? If we really are proud about something in Europe, it's because of our achievements as a European community. And I think very high in all the standards that we have is human dignity. So as long as there are 1 million plus people living on the streets, it means we cannot be proud. We cannot just go and tell everywhere in the United States, in China, and in Africa, and so on, that this European project has achieved its goals. So for me, it's about that, running the last mile for human dignity.
That's good. Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah. Previously, I was deputy mayor of my home city, Tampere, and responsible for the social and healthcare services. And on my term, we succeeded reducing the number of homeless people by 1/3. And as it's mentioned already, that the homeless people are the people who need our help. And on my experience, I can say that we can help them if we want to.
Great, great, and great example from Finland as well. So thank you very much. Do we have time for questions if we have some?
I think we don't have time for questions, but I would like to say some things out loud so that maybe when we have a coffee afterwards, you can have the possibility to discuss, because there are many questions and comments. So I think there are quite many of them that speak about the root causes. So we speak about homelessness, but of course we need to speak about, sorry Phil, we have to speak about housing, we have to speak about the job market, we have to speak about mental health. So the root causes that actually bring people to a homelessness situation. So it seems like we're touching the end of the problem, the tip of the iceberg. And another line of question is, of course, about resources. Learning and exchanging is important, but what about the funds? But on the other hand,
funds are usually given to results, and we know that Housing First has proven to work, but still for the cities it is very important sometimes to experiment and not for sure to be able to show results. So how to allow cities to go in experimentation. And we've done this in the Roof Network in a small measure, and I think it is very, very important. And then another very important question is how much are homeless people involved, for example, in a platform, in the committee, So how much is there a conversation with homeless people when deciding for programs or for platforms? And then a question about the European Commission competence. So usually homelessness is a bit beyond the limits in the competence of the European Commission. And here we hear about deciding to go beyond those limits, which is a very positive argument. And there was an interest to hear about that and to know how this is going to be tackled. And I think I would like to end with a note from Freek, the director of FIANZA, that we will see in the second panel, that says we should stop saying that homelessness is a complex problem, because this gives us a lot of excuses not to solve it. And probably we should speak about solutions, and we know housing and support is a solution to homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Okay, we have many food for thought, and we also pick some of these points for the second panel afterwards. And I would like to thank you so much for being with us and sharing your thoughts and being really here in Ghent. And we have the special gift for you from the city of Ghent. I think the mayor has prepared something for you. And for the rest of the audience, we have...
Hartelijk dank. Hartelijk dank.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, and for everyone else, we have a 15 minutes coffee break, and think of the questions and the ideas that we shared for the next panel as well. And thank you very much. Pleased to moderate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hoeveel minuten nog? 2. Okay. Hello, everyone. May I please ask you to take your seats again? We will start in 2 minutes. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, may I please ask you to take your seats right now? Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody, from the coffee break. This was a very good panel that we have just seen, and we look forward to continue. I want to remind you that you have postcards with the 4 roof messages and their addresses in here, and we ask you to fill those in, and so that we can send them. There is a box collecting your postcards. So just a reminder about that. So we are going to continue with this morning and to learn from the stories across the roof network. And then in the second panel, we're going to focus on how to make things happen. And one of the main issues we have explored from the beginning is data.
Yeah, and how to collect useful, accurate and comparable data is absolutely critical in order to understand homelessness, where you're starting from, but also how you're getting to where you're getting to as well. I think what's clear is that you can't just collect data without having a plan about what you're going to do with that information. And we've got a couple of cities as part of the network that have been working on this area. So we're going to hear from Liège and the city of Thessaloniki about how data collection is part of their overall strategy. So first of all, I'd like to invite Gregor Standelin to come and speak about their experience from Liège. And I think Gregor has a message from the President of Public Welfare from the Centre of Liège, Jean-Paul Bourgie.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, City of Ghent. It was a great team and wonderful process. Thank you very much. I will try to explain you in some minutes how the data question is very important to have a deep understanding on homelessness, but also on the living condition and the situation of housing in the European countries and the life of the citizens. We had talked about harmonized data and surveys are very important. We have a very good integrated monitoring system, but we have to develop also the capabilities of the cities to do it, and I'm very happy to hear that the platform is working and we have to participate everywhere on this platform. Working on Ethos Light is another important challenge, I think, and we don't forget that when we have good data, we can design appropriate solutions for and evaluate social policies. It's very important. In Belgium, we had the opportunity to organize a lot of one-point countings in this in our country, and this gave us a better understanding on the different kind of profiles of homelessness. And we saw that homeless people are everywhere, not only in the cities. And during this process, we had the possibility to work together with universities and researchers. I think it's a very important point to produce good data. And we have to continue to share knowledge, methodologies, by training, testing, and the data change the mind and give us a possibility to pull the shift to housing first. So thank you very much for your attention, and we have to continue to be committed and to fight to end housing and homelessness. Thank you very much.
Thank you much. Thank you very much, Gregor. And now we will hear from the city of Thessaloniki. So I would like to call General Secretary, Social Solidarity and Fight Against Poverty, Ministry of Labor and Social Affairs, Yorgos Stamits.
Stamats, thank you. Thank you for your invitation. First of all, let me clear that I'm a secretary, state secretary, not secretary from municipality of Athens, of Thessaloniki. So I present here the municipality of Thessaloniki. Allow me to say a few words about the data and about what happened before with the panel. So I'm Secretary General for Social Solidarity and Fight Against Poverty. Also, I am a street worker from the homeless. So I think it's well to create a voice of homeless here, because we need to open a network with them. Without them, nothing happens. So in pandemic period in Greece, we collect data for first time in Greece. And this was a result to vaccinate 85% of homeless in Greece on the streets, and 95% of homeless in the shelters. And this pandemic gave us the opportunity how to collect data and how to bring them in our society through the pandemic. So I think it's very important how cities cooperate with the homeless, and homeless has a voice about to solve their problems. So on the data, now in Greece, we organized to have a data in whole Greece about October in this year. And I think it's very important to all Europe agree who is the homeless. It's very important about the typology. You know better than me that we have a typology from Ethos, and in our mind of view, it's something like different. Maybe in Germany something different. Maybe in other cities it's something like different. So in Greece now, 75% of homeless are drug users, and they have mental health issues. So we decide as a country to have two projects. One pilot program that give us the opportunity to have more data, and we give money from a recovery fund, and Thessaloniki is a part of this, to create for the first time social housing first for homeless. The second, we have from national budget, 10 million euro, we have a program, work and house and work. And this program gives us the opportunity about 800 people to find house, and not only house, to find house, work, and more to support them in other issues about, you know, what's happened in the next time of your therapy, about when you are a drug user, etc., etc. So I think it's more important to decide about how to collect data. I think European Platform Homeless give us this opportunity to agree about this collection of data, and then we decide as a country and as a municipalities, especially Thessaloniki, to fight, to give this fight not on the end of this decade, but early 4 years. At the end of the next 4 years, we try, and these two programs, pilot programs, to entering homelessness in Greece. And allow me to say something very, very important. As a country, we have a law about for the homeless, and we give them the GMI. Without GMI, it's very difficult to find solution to give this money to these people, and because not only shelter, okay, it's okay, someone homeless to be a shelter, and then what? They don't have neither €1 to take a coffee. So give them this opportunity to them, €200, okay, in GMI for the homeless in Greece is very important. And now we support as a country recommendation of Commission that whole Europe, all countries to have a GMI as a social policy. So when we have these things, I think, and okay, to decide what happened about data and how all countries has the network between them, and not only countries and about cities, I think it's very, very, very important on this. I think when we have this target, and for example, Thessaloniki in Central Macedonia is a good example how to fight homelessness, how to help them. And I think it's very important the European Commission has to give the money and how to support NGOs and street workers, because social services in municipalities has not the people, how many people you need to help homeless. As a street worker, allow me to say that you want a special team to work on them. So I think street work is very important, because street workers, they give us the real data. So thank you for your attention, and I think all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stamatis. I think we can see the power of data there to make those decisions and make those sort of justifications to different bodies as well. I think through the network, though, we've realised that the collection and use of data can differ quite widely by different municipalities, some that are more further engaged with data collection, some which are just starting out on their data collection journey. And that often changes due to the broader context in which cities are working within. So drawing on the diversity we have within the project, we're now going to hear from other cities about how they're using data and the resources that they're using for that as well. So 2 cities from very different starting points have experience to share with you today about their need for and use of resources for data collection. So we're going to hear from Timisoara first off, and that's the Mayor of Timisoara, Mr. Dominic Fritz, who's joining us via video.
Dear friends, there is perhaps no better time to understand the importance of having a roof above your heads than these very difficult times in which a war brings us closer in solidarity, not just to the people of Ukraine, but actually of all the people, to all the people suffering. My country, Romania, our community here in Timisoara, has been very actively involved in helping the flow of refugees, those arriving from Ukraine and Romania, and in coming together to provide not just shelter, but also all kinds of social services to those arriving here. And our hope is that this solidarity can actually also foster a new kind of solidarity amongst ourselves, amongst the local community, and to have a view and a perspective on vulnerable people and citizens living in our own city. And of course we know that there are limited resources for not just providing housing, but for providing the whole system of social services around that. And our experience is that we as a local government must not be arrogant and must really try to get on board civil society, the private sector, NGOs, private citizens, and our role really is to foster the engagement, the civic engagement, and the active participation of citizens and all the other stakeholders in the city to have this kind of environment for improving the housing situation. Our city is very dynamic. Housing costs are rising, and of course our own resources are very limited, and I'm not just talking about financial resources, but also human resources in terms of housing policy. So what we really need is to understand our own role as a public administration. This is what we're trying to do, be it when we talk about Ukraine, be it when we talk about housing policy in our city. Our role is to really get people together around one table and to really foster all those energies that exist in the city and all the goodwill to make things happen. And I think this is also something that the action plan needs. We have to realize only through collaboration and only by facilitating the resources that exist in the community we can make things happen. Thank you very much for this project, and thanks to everybody supporting this. It's a very exciting possibility for us to learn and to exchange ideas, and I hope we will be able to see the first results soon. Thank you.
Thank you for the city of Timișoara. And finally, we're going to hear from Toulouse Métropole. And we're going to hear a message from the Councillor for Solidarity and Social Cohesion of Toulouse Métropole, Julie Esquadier. And Dominique Fritz is going to read this message aloud. Thank you.
Good morning, Mrs. Julie Escudier, Vice President of Toulouse Métropole in charge of social cohesion and inclusion, would have liked to be present today, but scheduling constraints did not allow her to come to Ghent for this event. She entrusted me with this message, which I will read to you on her behalf. Representatives of the European authorities, representatives of the 9 cities of the ROOF network, representatives of the municipal services and associations included. Toulouse Métropole, made up of 37 municipalities, is a dynamic territory which is experiencing significant demographic growth driven by the development of the aeronautics and space industry and its variety of university offer. However, like all the 8 territorial authorities of the ROOF network, it has to face the problem of homelessness. Toulouse Métropole and its central city of Toulouse have historically been a supportive and welcoming territory that offers assistance to people in difficulty. Like many cities in France, Toulouse Métropole has developed with many partners a staircase approach. But since 2018, Toulouse Métropole has been involved in the development of the national plan Logement d'abord, developed by the French government on the principle of housing first and housing led. We believe that this is a more positive approach to social inclusion. We are convinced of the importance of partnership, knowledge, and agility in adapting and mobilizing all the resources at our disposal to tackle and significantly reduce homelessness by 2030. First of all, may all the cities of the ROOF network and other European cities continue to develop knowledge on homelessness based on the numerous existing studies on the subject throughout Europe, a common analysis grid that allows a shared vision, the continuation of street surveys which are being carried out in many cities and which allow us a better understanding of part of the homeless population, but it is just part of it. This large network of professionals, whether institutional or associative, who are mobilized for this cause on a daily basis. Each of us in our respective cities is developing local, national, or European public policies with different approaches, but most of them contribute in one way or another to provide partial responses to the diversity of homelessness or poor housing situations. The issues surrounding homelessness require a more concerted and integrated approach in a very broad partnership, allowing for the comprehensive inclusion of individuals and households. We all have an interest in better articulating the resources at our disposal, whether they are human. Let's rely on the assets and the desire to act of all. Material, let's mobilize the available but unused housing supply that can be renovated and rented again. Financial, let's dedicate more budget to build more affordable housing and develop a support offer adapted to each person. Intellectual, let's invent new responses that better meet expectations. Together, at a local, national, and European level, let's join forces to fight homelessness.
Thanks, Dominique, and thanks, Toulouse Métropole. So now we move on to our second roundtable of the day. And here we're going to explore the huge opportunity the EU has to accelerate the implementation of Housing First in cities. And we're really pleased that we're joined to moderate this panel, Director of Fianza, Freek Spinnywine, to help us engage with the panel. Freek.
Thank you very much. Can I maybe call this... Is it okay? Yeah. Can I call the speakers to the podium? So we have the Vice or Deputy Mayor of Braga, Carla Sepulveda. We have the... yes, please, you can come. We have the Director of DG Employment, responsible for social rights and social inclusion, Katarina Ivankovic-Knežević. Then we have the representative of the Belgian Minister of Pensions and Social Integration, Madame Lalieu, Astrid van Kleef. And last but not least, representing the French presidency and the HAL, the public body coordinating the fight against homelessness in France, Laure Billeret. Hi. Maybe it's... I think we all have to go through it. We'll be used by it by the end of the day. Maybe it's polite to say who I am. So I'm Freek Spinnewijn. I'm always called in international context Freek, which is terrible in English, but I got used to it. So, but it's Freek. And for those that cannot say Freek, they can say Frederick, because that's my official name. Anyway, all joking aside, we heard interesting presentations just now about the importance of data collections and other instruments to progress towards ending homelessness. We heard also earlier today that in the framework of the EU platform against homelessness, countries, ministers have committed to end homelessness and to make substantial progress towards the aim by 2030. 2030 becomes this kind of mythical date, but I think this commitment to end homelessness and move away from managing homelessness is important. So I think in a first round, I would like to ask the panelists, like how do they see that ending homelessness? What do they need? What are the problems? What are the opportunities in their city, in their national context? But I would like to start with Katarina and ask her, what is the European Commission planning in the framework of the Platform Against Homelessness to support cities and member states making progress towards the ambitious aim of ending homelessness somewhere around 2030? So, Katarina, the floor is yours. And I know there's a lot planned, but try to be sharp and precise.
It's not that easy, Freek. Well, if you have problems with Freek, try to be Ivankovic-Knežević, and then we might see some problems. But to put a joke aside, so thank you very much, first of all, for organizing this amazing event. Second of all, for organizing it in the stadium, because for some of us, this is the first time to be at least so close to the VIP places in the stadium. And I hope not the last, but nevertheless. Second of all, it shows a really good way of thinking that City Ghent has, and I have to congratulate you, bringing sport and bringing persons in a disadvantaged situation, in any kind of disadvantaged situation, either children or persons with disabilities as homeless, is always a good way forward, and sports can help a lot, so congratulations. What, on a difficult questions, where we are, and not that difficult, and not that complex at all, Freek. So, European Commission somehow feels, I would say, like a glue within the platform. And why, I'll tell you immediately why like a glue and what is the role of glue. The role of glue is to hold everything together. And when a couple of years ago, when we started reflecting seriously, in a very serious manner, how to deal with poverty in general, how to try to achieve the new target, which is by 2030 we want 15 million people less in poverty, and then how to help those in need with, I would say, a good job done by Freek and Franz and the other colleagues, and good lobbying done. We have tried to put it highly on the political agenda. And when I say put it highly, I don't consider that the platform is the only thing when it comes to fighting homelessness. What I would say if I can reply on the question of the first panel, what was your personal commitment? Well, I can tell you.
Can I say no? No, you can.
My personal commitment was really to try to put homelessness in all the other policies. So when you look today, the European Child Guarantee, one of the target group of children in need are homeless children. When you look at the last year adopted strategy for the rights of persons with disabilities, homeless persons with disabilities are there. When you look at the other equality strategies, you can also see an issue of homeless people addressed there in LGBTI, in general anti-discrimination and all the others. And I think this is the way forward. Us as a policymakers, we have to make sure that whenever we discuss any policy, is it transport, is it digital, is it green, is it whatever, we have to have this automatic mechanism to put homeless population somewhere. So this is the first thing. Secondly, the platform, which is not even a year old, I would say. Last year in June in Lisbon, when we adopted the Lisbon Declaration, all 27 member states have signed to the Lisbon Declaration. Frank knows very well when we started preparation, and Mika as well, some were quite modest. Maybe we could have 10 to 14 member states who would sign this declaration. We tried to be really super ambitious. The Portuguese presidency helped enormously, and we got all the member states. And it's important to have all member states. It's very important that the message on the need to fight homelessness and to eradicate homelessness is passed clearly to all member states. And then whom else did we bring in the platform? All the consultative committees, both Economic and Social Committee and Committee of Regions, European Parliament, who pushed a lot with various instruments to address the issue of homelessness, and civil society and social partners. All of those stakeholders have committed to the same thing, which is that we work towards eradication by 2030. I've heard very well that the city of Ghent is planning to end homelessness by 2040. And I still remember when I was first time in Finland in 2019, the Finnish colleagues who can really say that they are almost there, if not fully there. But in 2019, they told me, Katarina, it did not happen overnight. We started in 2008. So it takes really a decade of continuous, first of all, political commitment. And that's, I believe, something that we all share. Without firm political commitment, there won't be solution of the problem. Then we need to put in place understanding what homelessness is, and our Greek colleagues was very right. And here I believe we don't have to start from the scratch. We have ethos, we have ethos light. Many institutions are using, OECD is using it, we are using it in the end. But what we don't know is really indeed at the EU level, what is the overall homeless population? We have some proxies, we have data from the civil society, but we tend to correct this. And this year we will contract at the EU level, we will contract the pilot project on the development of the methodology, on the counting of the homeless in EU, in all member states. With the methodology and then continuation, which would be actual counting, we will finally be able to say this is the population, homeless population in the member states. We do not have a data or indicator at the EU level that could be used as comparable one. We have various methodology use in the different member states, and even within the different member states, you have cities or regions using a different methodology and having a different approach. But somehow I feel that if not next year within the implementation, but then in the years to come, this issue could be solved. We also involved the Social Protection Committee, which is a council committee relevant for the social policy, and they have so-called indicator subgroup that works on these comparable data and comparable indicators. We agree that they will start working also on the collecting the data and making them comparable. And then we will do, well, two additional things. One is make sure that the messages of the good practices are heard, passed, and that mutual learning really becomes a reality. And the second of all is to work on funding. On funding, it's not complex at all, Frank, it's super complex, I have to say. On the funding, because there are so many possibilities, but so many players. There is something that is directly managed at EU level, which is the ESF Plus so-called easy strand, where we as the Commission can publish calls and can have calls for social innovation, calls for certain activities. And next year we plan to launch quite high, if not the highest ever social innovation call for piloting the homeless policies. So those of you who took part in the Rooftop EU, please note it down, because it will be interesting, and it will be super interesting for piloting and for seeing. One thing I want to say, Frank,
okay,
piloting is very important, but it's not sustainable. So there needs to be a continuation. ESF Plus and the shared management, where member states within the European Social Fund or European Regional Development Fund put the homelessness policies highly on the agenda, is something that our member states need to embrace and understand. And we have seen in the discussions that we had with them, some of them are very attentive, some of them are really willing to insist, but some of them are still quite shy, I would say, and quite modest in their ambition. And this is where I see the role of the platform, and this is where I see the role of really putting them all in the situation that they would just be pushed by each other in a very nice and gentle way, and really try to work towards addressing homelessness.
Thank you very much, Katarina. I never wanted to say that EU is not complex and access to funding is not complex. I just wanted to say that we have to stop saying that homelessness is so complex, because it's a reason not to progress. But that's another question. Let me turn to Carla for a moment. Like, we know that the member states at EU level have committed to end homelessness by 2030 or around that date, but we also know that the delivery of that progress will happen at local level in most countries. So what's the situation with homelessness in Braga, and what are the instruments you will use to make progress towards homelessness? And maybe also what do you need in terms of support from the European Union? Funding will probably be one of the things that you will mention, but the floor is yours.
Thank you for the invite. I apologize, I don't speak English. So I speak in Portuguese, and João will translate, okay? De acordo com os resultados do inquérito da Estratégia Nacional de Integração de Pessoas em Situação de Sem-Abrigo, em 31 de dezembro de 2020, em que apenas metade dos concelhos responderam ao inquérito, foram sinalizados 8.209 pessoas em situação de sem-abrigo em Portugal.
According to the synthesis of the results of the National Strategy for Integration of People survey on 31 of December 2020, only half of the municipalities respond to this survey. 8,209 people homeless were signalized in Portugal.
Em 144 concelhos não se registaram pessoas nesta situação.
Just in 144 municipalities, there were no people in this situation.
O mesmo estudo revelou que a maior incidência são nas áreas metropolitanas de Lisboa e Porto, que concentram 73% do valor total das pessoas em situação de sem-abrigo.
The same study revealed that the highest incidence in the metropolitan areas of Lisbon and Porto, which concentrate 73% of the total number of homeless people.
Mais de metade dos concelhos, 61%, têm no máximo 10 pessoas nesta situação e 24% no máximo 2.
It should be noted that more than half of the municipalities, 61%, have a maximum of 10 people in this situation, and 24% have a maximum of 2 people experiencing homelessness.
Do total, 3.420 encontram-se em situação de sem-teto e 4.789 em situação de sem casa.
Of the total, 3,450 are homeless and 4,789 are homelessness.
Braga, capital do distrito, comparativamente ao panorama nacional, situa-se afastado da tendência das grandes cidades de Lisboa e Porto.
Braga, district capital, compared to the national panorama, is far removed from the trend of the big cities of Lisbon and Porto.
Decorrente da caracterização realizada no final de 21, foram identificadas em Braga 115 pessoas em situação de sem-abrigo, sendo que 15 em situação de sem-teto e 100 em situação de sem-casa.
Okay, as a result of the characterization carried out at the end of 2021, 150 homeless people were identified in Braga. 15 were homeless and 100 were houseless.
A caracterização das pessoas de sem-abrigo, atendendo a um conjunto de variáveis do ponto de vista sociodemográfico e outras resultantes da intervenção, acompanha a tendência nacional, maioritariamente são do sexo masculino e entre 45 e 64 anos de idade, são solteiros, portugueses, beneficiários do rendimento social de inserção e estão entre 1 ano e menos de 5 anos na situação.
The profile of homeless people take into account a set of variables from the social demographic point of view and others resulting from the intervention itself follows the national trend. The majority are male, aged between 45 and 64, single, born in Portugal, and also beneficiaries of social integration incomes.
Apesar de Braga estar longe dos números de Lisboa e Porto, acompanha as tendências nacionais no que concerne à prevenção, acompanhamento e integração de pessoas em situação de sem-abrigo, havendo um grande investimento do município, quer nas ferramentas, quer na criação de respostas inovadoras e de integração no contexto do ecossistema social de Braga.
Although Braga is far from Lisbon and Porto figures, it follows the national trends regarding the prevention and monitoring and integration of homelessness people, with the municipality investing a lot both in the tools and in the creation of innovative integration responses within the context of Braga's social ecosystem.
Thank you very much. I think it shows that a focus on smaller cities, with all respect, because in the Belgian context, Ghent is not a small city, but it's not a massive city either, of course. But I think the focus on smaller cities makes sense because you're talking about dozen or a few hundred homeless people and not thousands and thousands. And I think a solution is probably easier and more in sight, and that can create a positive dynamic that is much more difficult to create in big, large capital cities. I would like to move to Laure, if that's possible. Like, you're here with two hats, the French hat and the European hat, because for 1.5 more months you're the EU presidency. But what's the French situation and how do you address it in France? And maybe also say something about what you think you need in terms of support from the European Union.
So thank you for the invitation and for the organization of the event, because as we have organized an event for the French presidency, we know it's a lot of work. So in France, homelessness is a significant social issue. But first, I would like to come back to definition. As we talk about this, it's really important. And it's really important to know that in France, we use a quite broad definition of homelessness. So this is not only people sleeping rough, it's, we speak also about people sleeping in shelters, in cars, or at relatives' house. And the estimation today is that we have around 300,000 people that are concerned by this situation. So as many European countries, homelessness has significantly increased in last decades, and because of many external and internal factors such as the economic crisis, the housing market financiarization, the rising price on the housing market, and also for our country, migration is also an external factor that has significantly raised the number of homeless people. And we had the COVID crisis, as every European countries and world countries. And during this crisis, the French government opened a large number of places, mainly in shelters and in hotels, in order to provide a roof for everybody. So what we are doing to tackle this situation, since 2017, reducing homelessness is a priority public policy in France. So to achieve this, the government set a housing first plan. So the metropole of Toulouse talk about this. And this plan is a national plan, but it's implemented by the Interministerial Delegation for Accommodation and Access to Housing, which is the entity I work for. And speaking about tools, I believe, so I'm not very objective, but I believe this is a very important tool because homelessness is a multidimensional issue, not complex, but multidimensional, and it's necessary to coordinate and to coordinate between many public policies we have in state public policies. So this delegation is responsible for this coordination and this facilitation. And so we are working with the Ministry of Health, of Interior, of Environment, Employment, and many other actors. In terms of results, I think we are now in a kind of paradoxical situation because we are still implementing this housing first plan, and we have seen good results because since the beginning of the plan, we estimate that there are around 330 homeless people that moved into permanent housing from the street or from shelters. But at the same time, we are at the highest level of places in shelters and in hotels. And so this is a big challenge to change, to go through housing first concretely.
Thank you. I think that situation is certainly not unique in France, that you have policymakers committing to the right policies, but still confronting with rising homelessness. And I think the link with the EU dynamic can be helpful in that context, because it might help to sort of sustain the right focus, even if the numbers are going up, and to sort of resist some of the pressure at national level. So, and if I can make a little bit of publicity for the HAL, I think the sort of public coordination agency for the fight against homelessness is quite unique in Europe. So maybe you should go and visit the HAL and see if you can replicate that model in other countries. I would like to now move to our last speaker, but I'll come back afterwards. And thanks for representing the minister here, who couldn't make it because of a busy agenda. Same question, like what's the situation in Belgium at the moment? Like what are the tools that you have available? Even if Patrick de Velter said it already earlier, there's different levels. It's a complex country, but what do you do, and what do you expect from EU cooperation?
Okay, thank you, Freek, for the moderating. Thank you for the City of Ghent for organizing. I'm Astrid. I'm here on behalf of my minister, Karine Lallieu. She's Minister of Social Integration and Fight Against Poverty. She couldn't make it because on Friday morning the federal government always has its meetings, so that's why they sent me. First of all, I think coming to the European level already, I think it's really, if you want to realize the ambitious program by 2030, we first of all need money, of course, funds, and because fighting homelessness really needs a severe investment, not only in solving the problem, but also in terms of prevention. And we really want to, my minister, at least she really wants to emphasize the necessity of a separate fund fighting homelessness. So the second point, I think, but you told it, Katharina, is the importance of the counting of homeless people. In Belgium, we have a recent counting made by the Fondation Roi Baudouin, but it only gives us a partial view, of course, of the global situation in Belgium. My minister is really involved with the homelessness
platform.
Platform, but also the file. I don't know the word in English. Excuse me. And she's really busy together with the Minister of Big Cities, Miriam Kitir. She's working hard on the file of the Housing First. If you want to know some numbers. There is a call for projects for an amount of 2.5 million euros that is focalized on homeless women. And that would, by that money, it will be possible to accompany almost 400 people in the homeless situation. We're also liberating 10 millions for the Housing First with a focus on young homeless people. So that is, in a few words, what my minister thinks and does.
Okay, perfect. I would like to move quickly on to the specific issue of data collection. I know that you mentioned already some things there. One of the things that surprises me is that like we look at total numbers of the homeless population and profile data, women, men, age, etc. But one of the most important and policy relevant profile data is the time that people are homeless. And there's very few countries that actually measure that. It's a side note, but I'm always surprised that that's the case. But what I hear from all of you and also earlier this morning is that we all agree, and it's also one of the recommendations in the ROOF, from the ROOF project, is that there needs to be some data collection at European level. Back to Katarina, you already started speaking about that. Do you think it is at all possible to have actual regular data collection on homelessness at EU level, and how will we get there? And then I would like to know from the three of you what kind of data would be most useful for you to have in a European context. Like what kind of data do you think is useful to compare yourself to other countries? But first, is it at all possible, and how do we get there at EU level?
Well, I truly believe that the pilot project that we will be implementing will show, first of all, the state of play will show how, and because the task of the pilot project is to develop methodology for counting and for all member states, taking into account the differences and taking into account the situation. But we can speak about the different systems, etc. But the situation that someone is homeless is the same in Greece, in Croatia, in Belgium, and in Estonia. So this is the state of play, and somehow we need to embrace it. I think the platform will be extremely important in buying in the understanding and the need and the methodology itself, because it will be duly followed throughout the implementation of the pilot project, and then the counting, the actual counting, is also going to show what is the state of play, and I believe this needs to be done periodically. The second strand is, of course, the best way to get the data would be through EU Silk and the survey that they perform. But this is not that easy, and this is a bit more complex, because the way they interview the people and they select those who will be interviewed could be quite challenging. And the question asked, like, did you experience homelessness in the past 6 months, maybe is not the best question in order to show what is really the scope of an issue. What I truly believe in, and I would like to say to our Belgian colleague that we have a high expectation from you and from your presidency. And I believe that you are becoming more and more aware of this small burden we are putting on your shoulders. But I really believe that by it's the first half of 2024. It will be the last year of this commission. It will be also practically a midterm of the platform, and I hope that by 2024, during the Belgian presidency, we will be able to say that all member states have done their own national strategies. Because you see the city of Ghent has a plan, action plan, you have the action plan, you had the action plan in Portugal, and I know very much that because your minister, Ana Mendes Gondinho, has been extremely a great supporter of the cause, and the way that you are dealing with homeless is very close to us and dear to us, I have to say, and it's really very important to have it. National strategies, which would be then dealt, of course, at the local level, are extremely important. And I think in these strategies, the member states need to commit also to collect the data, to analyze the data, and to make sure that there is really good progress and good monitoring. And if the ambition to have all 27 on board was high, I think this is even higher ambition. But with the good work, with all of us working on a different strands, I truly believe we can get there.
Astrid, from experience, if a high-level top Commission official calls to a presidency and says, help us to progress on homelessness and make the transition to the new Commission, I wouldn't hesitate.
I got the message.
Okay. Laure, maybe something on the data collection that you still want to like reflection about what is useful from a French perspective at EU level?
But first, I want to come back to the first thing I said, like definition.
Yes.
I think it's something we realized when preparing the interministerial conference, that we have talks with many countries, and when we were talking about what is the situation of homelessness in your country, we realized that there is no two countries with the same definition and the same scope of talking about what is a homeless person and what is not. So this is the first step for me, is really to have a shared definition, to understand and to know what we are talking about. And this can be done with quantitative data, but also with qualitative data. And I really support what the Portuguese representative has said about the fact that we have to really reflect on the experiences of homeless people and to understand this is qualitative data, and this is really difficult to collect, but this is also something we have to advance in order to grow up in the collection of data. And I believe that as EU presidency, the French government really wanted to focus on this topic, and this is why there is an direct act on this topic in the platform action plan. And in France, this is really strongly linked to our national priorities, because we have a lot of many initiative in order to collect data. So we have the Night of Solidarity, and this is also some work the platform has to do. And we are really working on in order to make the best use of information system. And I think this is a challenge in many countries, and also at the European level, because it's a challenge at the really local level in France. So when you just scale up, it's more and more complicated, but it's really important to use and to have consolidated information system in order to have the profiles, so to guide relevant action, but also, as you have said, in order to know more about the pathways, and about what experimentation is working. Like in the precedent panel, someone was speaking about you have to let the city experiment and innovate, and we are totally in line with this need to innovate, but we also have to have strong information system that can enable us to reflect on this innovation and this experimentation.
Yeah, no innovation without evaluation.
Yeah.
Astrid?
Yeah, I join what Laura says, and I think it's maybe also interesting to find out in the data what are the causes of homelessness. Because that is really important, I think, to base our prevention politics on later on.
And I think the invitation from Katarina to
I
the
noted
presidency,
it.
the answer is yes, no?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Triple yes.
Yeah, triple yes. Carla, the last word is for you because we're running a little bit late, but we started also late, so a few minutes, yeah.
Para nós é fundamental a recolha e o conhecimento da situação de pessoas em sem-abrigo, de forma a definir as linhas estratégicas de intervenção e planeamento a médio e longo prazo, ao nível do desenvolvimento e do investimento social.
Data collection is fundamental for understanding the situation of homelessness and for defining strategy lines of intervention and medium and long-term planning at the level for development and social investment.
Ao nível da estratégia nacional, é realizada uma contagem em cada final do ano civil, que realiza a caracterização e comparação da situação das pessoas em situação de sem-abrigo, e atualmente encontra-se em desenvolvimento uma plataforma nacional de recolha de informação e contagem periódica das situações.
Okay, within our national strategy, a count is carried out at the end of each calendar year, which characterizes and compares the situation of the homeless people at the national level. A national platform is currently under development to collect information and periodically count the situations.
Nível da situação de Braga, o acompanhamento é feito mensalmente às pessoas sem teto, tendo por base o modelo de intervenção e acompanhamento integrado, que decorre de qualificar a intervenção junto das pessoas sem abrigo, centrando-se no indivíduo, na família, na comunidade, bem como na necessidade de evitar a duplicação de respostas, rentabilizando os recursos humanos e financeiros.
Okay, within the scope of the Braga strategy, monthly monitoring of homeless people is carried out based on an integrated model of intervention and monitoring, which aims to qualify the intervention with homeless people. Okay, we as well we need to avoid the duplication answers, so we make human and financial resources more profitable. Okay.
Este acompanhamento permite um conhecimento real das pessoas em situação de sem-abrigo e é determinante para a criação de novas soluções e respostas e ferramentas para impulsionar a nível local e nacional. Consideramos que este esforço desenvolvido é fundamental para melhorar a integração destas pessoas e consideramos ainda que é importante um maior investimento a nível nacional através de apoio financeiro e incentivo às organizações sociais em parceria com a estratégia nacional e com os municípios.
Okay, this integrated monitoring provides knowledge of the real needs of homelessness and is crucial for creation of new solutions and answers and tools to boost and at local and national level. And despite all the effort made, we believe that in order to improve the integration of homelessness, it is essential to invest more national level through financial support and incentives for social organizations in strategic partnership with municipalities.
Thank you. Are you going away? Because I need you for the... because we're coming at the end of this session, I think I limited to 40 minutes as was foreseen, but as usual, no time for questions and answers, but somebody very qualified to summarize the comments that
Thank you. I will do my best.
Yep.
And I hope that I stand in the right place, okay, because before I stand in the very wrong place. So I will try to summarize these comments and questions from here. I think one group of questions is really related to collection of data needing to be a collaborative work, meaning to collaborate with non-profit organization, grassroots organizations that are on the ground, but also, again, with homeless. So there are really a lot of comments that say we need to stop speaking about helping them or about their problem and do it more with. And this is, of course, related both to the collection of data and to the solutions, so also qualitative data that could really help understand the specific need. And going off of that, the second group of comments and questions are about what do you do with data. So to be very careful on not remaining only on the planning stage. We're collecting data because we want to know what is available, and I think that this is really important, but it is also very important to know what is the use that you are going to do. And very often to think about the use before you collect the data, so that we don't hear, like we heard from many cities, we have all the data you want, but I don't know, honestly, what are we doing with that? So that's the summary of comments.
Perfect, and I think it makes also perfect sense. We will take, I will take the message. I will drop the elevator pitch that was foreseen because we have no time. We'll do the elevator pitch in an actual elevator, maybe later on. But maybe just to conclude, we all agree that data collection is really important. I think we can argue that those countries and those cities with sophisticated, good performant data collection systems have better policies and more effective policies. But on the other hand, we don't have to wait in the other cities or countries until we have an ideal data collection system to start acting because we know what we need to do. So that's how I would like to conclude. It's also some personal interest because I have to play football later on, I think. So, and thanks for the speakers, of course, maybe a little applause. And I think and there is even a present for you.
Good.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Wait a minute.
Ah,
Okay. Okay, it's we're running out of time, and we've still got a little bit of the event left, so I'll just reduce my session just to a few minutes. But thank you so much to our panel. Such an interesting discussion. It's my task to try and summarise what we've talked about today, or otherwise just choose the bits that really engage me and elevate those. Sometimes I've been coming to events around homelessness for about 20 years now or so, and sometimes you produce a report, you put it out there, and you think it's going to be a one-way street where we're just telling you things. But I'm really going to come away today with a sense that we've learned a lot. I've learned a lot together anyway with you. Just to say, for those people in the room, the bumper music, which we've all been dancing to, that's purposeful for our online viewers to make sure they get the best viewing performance possible, and it gives us a nice dance as well to warm up for the rest of the afternoon. So, in terms of things that have struck me, and forgive me, this is not going to be comprehensive. It's just a snapshot of things that stood out over the course of the last couple of hours, but I was really excited, actually, when the lead from the European bodies was entirely visible on this issue, really visible, moving beyond that kind of strict competency approach, thinking about homelessness as a shared challenge. And I think that really does, from speaking to people in the coffee break as well, that really provides the assurance, the reassurance needed that cities and member states are on the right path, and the EU is going to be with them for the long haul. It is all complex. It is all complex, but the potential for the platform, I think, has come across really clear today. The declaration, the platform, these are initial fundamental steps on a trajectory to really tackling homelessness. It's clear the platform is about inclusion, it's about collaboration, and it's about co-production. I found it really interesting as well about that aspect of shared learning. So we've got a really clear idea that sharing learning shouldn't just be about shouting about what works and best practices. We need to recognize what doesn't work. We need to recognize where we fail, because we can do better. And we've also heard that political commitment is absolutely critical. as is shared understanding. And we talked a lot about data, and we talked a lot about having an understanding that gives us a deep level of understanding through data, and that data collection can lead to better policies, better social policies, better responses to homelessness. Peer-to-peer learning is really important. That's what Roof's been about. And it's really interesting to see the evolution of our understanding of homelessness, from the people out there, the people that are really visible, to the people that are hidden, the people who are just barely getting by in life. And I'll finish with a couple of things that were said in the first panel, which sort of really struck me, really, which is homelessness is a sign that that something is wrong in society, and we together need to run that last mile for human dignity. I thought that was really powerful. Anyway, so it's now for me to pass back to our host, the City of Ghent. Over to you, Patricia.
Thank you, Phil. A special thank you to both Liat and Phil and the moderators for organizing this so well. It was a very interesting panel, a very interesting discussion, and also a good view of what the roof cities have wanted to explain to you about what they need from Europe and from the national level to end homelessness. Then now may I ask your attention for our Deputy Mayor of Social Affairs, Rudy Coddens, and our Deputy Mayor of Housing, Tine Heijsen, on how we can end homelessness together beyond 2024.
Dear representatives of the European Union, dear regional and national representatives, dear colleagues, dear guests. After all we have heard already this morning, I can jump straight to the conclusion. The ROOF project has made two things perfectly clear. First of all, it can be done. We can end homelessness of our citizens if we are willing to make the right choices, if we are willing to invest both in housing and in people, as shown in the pioneering work in Finland. Surely, it would take time, but ROOF has firmly strengthened my belief that we can make a giant leap towards ending homelessness of our citizens. However, secondly, we will only be able to end homelessness if everybody is willing to contribute, not just now, but in the long term as well. It's good to be ambitious, but we will need to convince a lot of people to join us in our battle against poverty in general and homelessness in particular. Those responsible in welfare, healthcare, and many other fields of policy making. Those responsible of all levels of policy making, local, regional, national, and European. So let's all join forces to end homelessness. ROOF provides an elaborated vision and strategy that can help all of us to make a giant leap today, beyond 2024, beyond 2030, as long as it takes.
Let us cooperate with the platforms that exist for this purpose. Housing is a fundamental human right. We ask the EU to develop a strategy to end homelessness with a focus on affordable and quality housing and on housing first, and to draw up a roadmap for the member states. We ask that the next work plan of the European Platform to End Homelessness includes long-term actions and action on housing first. We would also like to work with the EU and member states on harmonizing and monitoring data at all levels. All this requires a flexible commitment from the EU to make European support and financial possibilities directly applicable in the function of the local needs of the cities. And so we were very pleased to hear about the call just in the other debate. It takes a city, a country, and Europe. It takes a roof, a house, a home. It takes all of us. Together, we can end homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Collins and Deputy Mayor Heijsen. This Rooftop EU 2022 would not have happened if it weren't for the great URBACT program for action planning networks. Head of Unit Nuala Morgan will now tell us more about URBACT and the power of joining forces.
Thank you for the invitation. Of course, mayors and deputy mayors of Ghent and the elected representatives here and from the European Commission, ladies and gentlemen. It's my privilege and honour to represent URBACT programme today here at the ROOF Final Conference. URBACT is the only European cooperation programme dedicated to cities. Through exchange and learning, capacity building, and knowledge sharing, we support cities working together to tackle common challenges. Since 2002, URBACT has supported almost 180 networks, that's 2,000 cities, across a range of urban policy issues, from jobs and skills to digital transition, urban regeneration, poverty and social inclusion, social innovation, and any policy really that a city can work on. And the specific approach of URBACT is to work in an integrated and a participatory way. So integrated meaning horizontal across different departments, as we've seen through ROOF even today with housing and homelessness working hand in hand. Vertical through the different levels of governance, as we've also seen demonstrated very clearly today. And participatory, so involving the local stakeholders and those who are involved and impacted by the policy has also been very much underlined today through each city establishing a local group to really co-design the action plans. And ROOF is URBACT's first network that is dedicated to tackling homelessness. And I sincerely hope that it won't be the last. As we have heard today, great progress has been made in ending homelessness, but there is still a way to go. And I think very much more that cities can continue to learn from each other, building on this ROOF experience. At URBACT, we have been impressed by the drive and the commitment of the ROOF partners, particularly the great efforts of Patricia and her team in leading the network. And with the support of Liet, the program expert, we really have seen, the network expert, we've really seen a committed and dedicated development of implementing the URBACT principles and developing your action plans. Particularly running a cooperation program and a cooperation project in times of COVID, when it wasn't possible to meet in person, was a great challenge. Although for ROOF in particular, the fact that COVID did bring homelessness to the forefront of the agenda, I think was something that you've really also been able to capitalize on to a certain extent. So at least some positives from the COVID situation. And we hope to continue to keep supporting the results of ROOF in passing these messages to the European level. So my role in URBACT is to ensure that the knowledge shared within the networks is made available to other cities and also to feed into the European policy debate. Luckily for me, this was baked into the ROOF network from the beginning with the commitment to bring their message to the national and to the EU level, and has been demonstrated clearly today by bringing all of those levels together in today's event. As a programme, We have also prioritized housing and homelessness as one of our knowledge-sharing work streams over the last 3 years. And with the unending and untiring work of our thematic program expert on inclusion, Laura Collini, we have organized a series of activities on the right to housing, looking at 3 different aspects: collaborative forms of housing, the financialization of housing, and no one left behind, to which the ROOF network contributed directly. So in partnership with the Urban Innovative Actions Programme, we organised a series of webinars and developed a set of policy recommendations and also practical case studies that are available on our dedicated platform, which is therighttohousing.eu. And at URBACT, we will continue to share these messages. We will ensure that the ROOF messages will be present there, and to support the ROOF Cities' contribution to the European Platform on Homelessness, and through URBACT's contribution to the Urban Agenda for the EU. And I call on all the levels present here to continue to build on the momentum that has been launched here by ROOF, and to take these messages forward at each of your own levels. So looking forward, we will welcome ROOF and all of the other URBACT networks at our URBACT City Festival in Paris in June, where we will share these results with over 450 participants coming from all over Europe. And there we will launch the next round of the URBACT programme with a call for projects planned for October, if all goes well. And so we look forward to seeing also many more applications coming from the cities in the room here during the next call for URBACT networks. So my huge congratulations again to the ROOF network. And I thank you all very much for bringing these URBACT principles to life through your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nuala. And a warm recommendation to anyone who wants to lead or join an URBACT project. The URBACT Secretariat is unbelievably supportive, so they really help you to organize it well. So thank you for that. As project leader, I saw firsthand how this program had a real impact on cities. Departments and people started to work together who had never done this before. Welfare and housing departments, non-for-profit organizations, housing actors, academics. The URBACT methodology of action planning with stakeholders based on transnational exchange of knowledge forced all cities to take a stand in the matter, and for some to, for the first time, consider the possibility of counting or starting housing first, of actually being able to end homelessness rather than manage it. Big steps of progress were made at local level, with cities that started housing first or mapped their housing stock, cities that explored working with private owners. Other cities started an experiment on data with the money for the URBACT small-scale actions. Cities that were more advanced worked on upscaling, involving neighborhoods, storytelling, tailored support, and on consolidation. If you want to hear more about what the cities achieved, you are welcome to join our roof walk this afternoon. Just ask us and we will tell you where to be. You can also read about it in the booklet and the articles on our website. The booklet is in your tote bag. I would like to thank all our online participants, URBACT, the Roof Friends, Fianza, Eurocities, World Habitat, Housing Europe, King Baldwin Foundation, the KA Ghent Foundation, the Glamco Arena, our fabulous technicians, maybe a little applause for them, from the Bureau of WISC and from the Glamco Arena, the City of Ghent, all the colleagues of the fabulous roof team, both in Ghent, in Milan and Glasgow. Big thank you. And then last but not least, all the colleagues of our whole network of our partner cities and URBACT local groups. Finally, URBACT also made our advocacy trajectory possible, part of the results you saw today, which brings us to the official part of this morning, the handing over of the key messages. First, I would like to tell you again for the postcards, the postbox is over there. If you have a message to the EU, put them just there in the box. So now, I would like to thank the online viewers. Hope it was interesting. Keep up the good work, and I see you next time. Then now, may I ask, I don't know if the mayor's back yet? No, okay. Then may I ask Deputy Mayor Heijsen and Deputy Mayor Coddens and Mieke Hullebroek to hand over the officially signed key messages to Laura Biljoret from the presidency, to Katarina Ivankovic, and to Astrid van Kleef, the future Belgian presidency in 2024. In the meantime, I will ask the football players to go to the changing rooms. I think they can go with my colleague Linda, and we will be right behind you. It's the mayor, Stevie McGowan, Ewan McGlynn, Kevin Carr, Freek, Juan, Gregor, Stephen, Mr. Stamatis, Mr. Kupkas, Ms. Biljoret will follow, and Ms. Van Kleef as well, I think, and Marriage. Okay, thank you so much. So for now, I also want to say that lunch will be downstairs. So we ask everyone to go downstairs. You can eat something and you can watch the football match. It's a football match of 15 minutes, so enjoy.